Michael Yoder. I was in 2 separate car accidents 10 years apart, neither of which was my fault, and which screwed up my shoulder. If I went into an org or mission, I know the likely result would be that I'd be labeled a potential trouble source, PTS. But if I'm not a full-blown Scientologist yet, how would an auditor or staff try to determine who the suppressive person, SP, is that I must be connected to? Or would they go that far until I was well into courses and coughing up the big bucks? Thanks for the question, Michael. This is a good one. And I will say that there are different levels of complexity involved with dealing with somebody who is PTS. If you go into an org and you have the, accident history that you talk about here that screwed up your shoulder, then there was going to be a time in your past when you were PTS. That was the only reason you had an accident, according to L. Ron Hubbard. All accidents, illness, injury, sickness, all of it has to do with being PTS. So that means in Scientology, as a potential trouble source, that you are connected in some way to a suppressive person. However, it doesn't have to be that the person you're connected to is the suppressive person per Scientology's descriptions and policies on it. It could be that this person is doing things that are reminding you of a suppressive in your past. Maybe you were connected to somebody who was really antisocial, who was really trying to make your life hell, trying to degrade you, invalidate you, tell you how horrible you are all the time, sometimes in a roundabout way, not necessarily in a direct way. And this suppressive person, you finally got away from them. Maybe they were your boss, you quit the job. Maybe they were a family member, you moved out of home. Maybe they were a friend, you broke up the friendship. However, you got away from it. Now here you are in this current situation in life, and you run into somebody who maybe says things that are similar to what that suppressive used to say, or does things, or dresses, or looks similar in some fashion to that suppressive. That's enough of a reminder to re-stimulate you, as it's called in Scientology, to re-stimulate that past episode of suppression. And so you act, sort of PTS now. And the idea with the sort of levels of handling is as a new Scientologist, somebody fresh in off the street, and this gets done with people who come in fresh off the street. This is not an introductory action, but almost. It's a very beginning action in Scientology is to de-PTS someone, to make them no longer PTS. And the way that gets done is to spot who the suppressive is, right? Discover who it is, and then handle or disconnect. It's one of the two, right? So the first thing they have to do, though, before they can even do the spot who the SP step is they have to educate you about this. They have to indoctrinate you into everything I just talked about. And they have to lay this on you in such a way that you totally understand it, totally agree with it, and believe that this is how life works. This isn't how life works, by the way. None of what I'm saying has any real bearing on why people get sick or have accidents. Yes, if somebody is being offensive to you, is being a distraction to you, is trying to ruin your life, then yeah, you can have some problems with them. And yeah, that could be distracting. That could be anxiety-inducing. And you could end up having accidents or, something like that, or get stressed out and get sick. I mean, that can happen. But to say, let's be clear about this, that all illness, all accidents, all injuries are only and solely because of a suppressive person, because you have become PTS, that's nonsense. There's no way that's true, right? People get sick all the time, has nothing to do with some offensive, antisocial personality in their life. But Scientology insists that it does. So that's what I'm saying is the bullshit part, okay? It's clear to see that, stress and anxiety definitely can mess with your biology. We see this every day. And so, of course, that can have an effect on you. But, as I've made the point many times with Scientology and other destructive cults, what they do is they take a true piece of information and they use hyperbole and exaggeration to blow it up to make some big, broad statement that is a universal truth that must always be true under all circumstances. And that's exactly what L. Ron Hubbard did with this. Okay, so as far as how they're going to deal with you, you're going to get an interview and they're going to sit you down and they're going to clear up a bunch of words with you. They're going to ask you the definitions of words like invalidation, evaluation, suppression, potential trouble source, et cetera. And they're going to clear these up with you, preferably using an e-meter, but it doesn't have to be done that way. And then it's the first level of handling actually is an unmetered action where you do this indoctrination and you get educated on this. And then they ask you, okay, so now you've learned all about this stuff. So who is it? Who's the SP, right? There's a direct question. And if you can spot it, and it's, Bill. Okay, good. Boom, boom. Now, do you want to handle or do you want to disconnect, right? How do you want to deal with this, right? Is Bill somebody that you need to have in your life? Is Bill somebody that you should have in your life? Well, let's go ahead and evaluate that. And you have some back and forth with the interviewer. And the interviewer is a Scientology ethics officer. It's not an auditor. It could be both, but it has to be somebody who is trained on the PTS SP stuff, as well as, and that's usually ethics officers. Not all auditors are trained on that stuff. So the ethics officer will work this out with you and come up with a little program. See, sometimes just spotting the SP at this introductory level where they're just trying to do a nice, light, simple handling with you, it might be that just spotting it. Oh, it's Bill. Ah, right. Okay, I feel better now. And the ethics officer goes, okay, good. So you want to, what do you want to do about this? Oh, well, I'll just, tell Bill to fuck off and that'll be that. Or maybe Bill is, somehow antagonistic to you doing Scientology. So now you have to decide what you're going to do about this. And maybe the handling is going to be something like, hey, Bill, back off, man. I want to do Scientology. And you keep giving me crap about it and telling me to watch this show with Leah or pointing at Chris Shelton's videos or something, and I'm not interested. And if we want to stay friends, then I really need you to just chill out about this. And that's the kind of handling step that might get done by a Scientologist. If Bill persists in continuing to talk shit about Scientology or tell you that, you shouldn't be doing it or there's something wrong with it, and maybe Bill, does back off a little bit, but still throws some comments out here and there and that sort of thing. Well, the goal of the Scientologist is to remove all of that from their environment. They don't want the criticism. They don't want to hear it. Now, it's obviously a good thing that they hear it. It's a correct thing that Bill is saying, dude, I care about you. I don't want you getting involved in the cult. I think there's a problem here. I really wish you would look at some of the information I have to give you. There's nothing really, that's being a good friend. But to a Scientologist who's getting indoctrinated into Scientology, that's evil, that's horrible, that's bad because it's anti-Scientology. So you gotta tap that down. You gotta get rid of that. So Scientology's view, of course, is that that's very bad. Excuse me. So if the person persists, if Bill keeps coming, then the Scientologist is going to tell, the ethics officer is going to tell this new Scientologist, okay, well, it looks like handling isn't working, so it looks like it's going to be time to disconnect, right? Cut the line, get Bill out of your life because Scientology is the thing that's improving your life. This guy clearly doesn't want you to improve your life. This guy clearly isn't a friend of yours. This guy clearly doesn't have your best interest at heart. So, cut and run, man. That's it. Just get this guy out of your life. And you'd be told, that basically. And it might go a bit longer, of course, and it might be a more roundabout explanation of how to go about it. But that's the direction they're going to push you in. So even at the lower levels, you will get these PTS handlings being done. They can become more complicated. They can become more intense. They can even involve an auditor and e-meters and auditing and having to get what's called a PTS rundown or a suppressed person rundown. And, and these can get pretty involved and pretty expensive, but they're not going to throw that stuff at you on day 1 or 2 or 3. They're going to try to do these lighter forms of handling first. Okay, so that's basically how that works.